I never thought I'd hear from him again. Until today. The morning felt like any other. The soft hum of the city outside, the warm steam from my coffee rising into the air. I scrolled through my phone absent-mindedly, checking emails, ignoring notifications until one message made my fingers freeze. His name, right there on my screen. For a second, my breath hitched. My heart pounded louder than the ticking clock on the wall. I hadn't seen that name in years, hadn't even let myself think about it. But now, there it was. The man who shattered me. The man who walked away, like I was nothing. I hesitated before opening it. My grip tightened around the phone as if the words inside could somehow reach out and pull me back to that night, to that moment when he looked me in the eye and told me I wasn't enough. The screen glowed as I finally tapped the message. Hey, I know it's been a long time. I was wondering if we could talk. Talk? After all this time? After everything he did? My lips curled into a bitter smile. The last time we talked, he was standing in our apartment doorway, his bags packed, his eyes cold. I swallowed, my coffee suddenly tasting like ash. What could he possibly want after all these years? And why now? We had a life planned, a future mapped out in late-night conversations and whispered promises. A house with a white fence, weekend road trips, a love that would last forever, or so I thought. I still remember the way he used to look at me, like I was the only person in the world. We'd sit for hours, planning our dream wedding, arguing, over cake flavors, picking out names for kids we hadn't even had yet. It felt real. It felt solid. Until the night it all fell apart. It happened so fast I barely had time to process it. One moment we were laughing over dinner, and the next, he was clearing his throat, setting down his fork, avoiding my eyes. My heart knew before my mind did. I need to tell you something, he said. Voice steady, too steady. A pit formed in my stomach. And then, just like that, he said it. Plain, cold, like he was discussing the weather. He was leaving. He had met someone else, someone younger, someone more exciting. His words, not mine. The room blurred. My ears rang. My fingers felt numb as I gripped the table, trying to make sense of it, trying to understand how the man who once promised forever could throw it all away in a single breath. I laughed, a hollow, broken sound. You're joking, I said, waiting for him to smile, to take it back. But he didn't. You'll move on. Eventually, he shrugged. But I can't miss this opportunity. Opportunity, that's what he called it. As if love was a business deal, and I was just an outdated investment. The engagement ring slipped from my fingers, hitting the floor with a sharp clink. I wanted to scream, to cry, to beg him to stay. But I didn't. I just stood there, surrounded by the wreckage of everything I thought we were, while he walked away without looking back. I thought I'd never recover. But I was so wrong. Nights felt longer. Silence felt heavier. The world outside kept moving, but I was frozen in place, stuck in the loop of my own misery. I replayed that moment over and over again. His voice, so calm, so detached. The way he looked at me, as if I was nothing more than a phase he had outgrown. I dissected every word, every detail, searching for the moment I failed. When did I stop being enough? People talked. They always do. Friends who once cheered for our love now whispered behind my back. She wasn't exciting enough for him. What did she expect? A man like him wouldn't settle for someone like her forever. I heard it all. Their words clawed at me, digging into wounds that were already too deep. But nothing stung more than seeing them together. His new girlfriend, young and beautiful, draped over him like she belonged there. He didn't just move on. He made sure the world knew how much happier he was without me. Social media became a battlefield I couldn't escape. Photos of their perfect dates, their perfect smiles, their perfect love. It was everywhere, taunting me, reminding me that I had been replaced. I stopped sleeping, stopped eating, stopped recognizing the person staring back at me in the mirror. Dark circles carved into my skin, my clothes hung looser, my eyes held the emptiness of someone who had given up. My apartment, once filled with warmth and laughter, felt like a tomb. The silence pressed against my chest, suffocating. I found myself reaching for old photos, tracing the memories with trembling fingers. The vacations, the anniversaries, the late-night cuddles on the couch. Proof that once I was loved. Proof that once I was wanted. But now, they were just scraps of a past life, mocking me. I wanted to burn them, to erase every trace of him, but I couldn't let go. Not yet. Maybe he was right. Maybe I wasn't good enough. Maybe I was the problem. That thought consumed me. It whispered in my ear every night, followed me through every waking moment. If I had been smarter, prettier, more exciting, would he have stayed? Would I still have the life I had spent years building with him? Days bled into nights, weeks passed in a haze. I avoided calls, ignored texts. People stopped checking in. The world moved on. But I didn't. Until one night, I stood in front of the mirror, barely recognizing the woman staring back at me. Hollow eyes, sunken cheeks, a ghost of who I used to be. I had let him break me. I had handed him the power to define my worth, and he had walked away without a second thought. But as I stared at my reflection, something inside me cracked. A new voice, one that had been buried under all the pain, began to rise. Enough. No more crying over a man who discarded me like an afterthought. No more letting his choices dictate my value. No more being a shadow of myself while he thrived. I clenched my fists, the old photos slipping from my grasp, scattering across the floor. Let them stay there. Let the past stay buried where it belonged. If I was going to rise, I'd have to rebuild myself from the ground up. The first step was the hardest. Waking up and deciding that today would be different. That I wouldn't let myself drown in the sadness he left behind. That I wouldn't waste another second mourning a man who had already forgotten me. At first it felt unnatural. Pushing myself out of bed when all I wanted to do was disappear under the covers. Lacing up my sneakers when my body still ached from nights spent crying. Walking into the gym, feeling like an imposter, surrounded by people who looked strong, confident, unbreakable. I wasn't like them. Not yet. The first few workouts were brutal. My muscles burned, my lungs screamed for air, but I refused to stop. Every drop of sweat, every push, every lift. It wasn't just about getting stronger. It was about reclaiming myself. About proving that I wasn't weak. That I wasn't fragile. That I was still here. The gym became my therapy. With every session, I could feel the weight of my past growing lighter. The anger, the heartbreak, the betrayal. I funneled it all into the movement. And slowly, something shifted. My posture straightened, my body grew stronger, and so did my mind. It wasn't just about fitness. It was about taking control of every aspect of my life. I poured myself into my work, refusing to let distractions pull me under. The late nights weren't spent scrolling through his life anymore. They were spent learning, building, growing. Signed up for classes, explored new hobbies, surrounded myself with people who inspired me instead of draining me. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't just surviving. I was living. Then came the change no one could ignore. At some point, I stopped feeling invisible. The timid, broken version of myself had started to fade, replaced by someone new, someone stronger, someone unstoppable. I stepped into a salon one day, ready to shed the last remnants of my old self. A new hairstyle, a wardrobe that made me feel powerful, not just presentable. But the real makeover wasn't just in the mirror. It was in the way I carried myself. I walked taller, spoke with more certainty, no longer second-guessed my worth. I didn't need validation from anyone, least of all from him. Then came the career breakthrough. The opportunity of a lifetime landed in my lap, not because of luck, but because I had earned it. The hard work, the sleepless nights, the dedication, it all paid off. A promotion, a major deal, a business of my own. Whatever it was, it catapulted me into a world I never thought I'd be part of. The moment I signed that contract, the rush was indescribable. The weight of the pen in my hand, the crisp paper beneath my fingers, the realization that I had done this. Not for him, not for revenge, but for myself. And the best part? People noticed. The same ones who once pitied me, whispered about me, assumed I'd never recover. They looked at me now with wide eyes, speechless. And then it happened. I ran into someone from my past. Not him. Not yet. But someone who had seen me at my lowest. Someone who had doubted I'd ever get back up. They stared at me, eyes scanning the transformation, struggling to find the broken girl they once knew. "Wow," they whispered. "What happened to you?" I smiled, feeling not just different, but unstoppable. I became the person he never thought I could be. I never imagined that the day would come when he would start to notice me. It began slowly, almost imperceptibly. A single like on a post here, a brief comment there, and then it grew. I had spent months rebuilding every broken part of myself, carving out a new life from the ashes of our shattered past. Every early morning workout, every late night spent pouring my soul into my work, every moment I chose to rise above the hurt had transformed me into someone unrecognizable to the person who once dismissed me as nothing. And now, as I scrolled through my social media feed, I saw a string of notifications that made my heart flutter with a mix of pride and disbelief. At first, it was small. I noticed that posts I shared, snapshots of my successes, glimpses of the new projects I was launching, even casual moments from events I now attended, were being met with enthusiastic reactions. Friends and colleagues who had once pitied me or doubted my potential were now flooding my comments with praise. "Amazing transformation," they wrote. "You've truly come a long way." And then, almost as if by fate, his name began to appear among the notifications. A single like here, a few retweets there. It was as if the world was now acknowledging the person I had become. I remembered how he used to boast about his life, about the perfect relationship he was in, always making sure everyone knew he had left me behind for someone younger, someone more exciting. But the truth was, his new relationship was far from the fairy tale he painted. His new partner, who he flaunted on his social media, was glamorous on the surface, but the cracks in that facade were becoming more apparent every day. Pictures that once captured envy now revealed moments of tension, a forced smile here, a distant look there. I began hearing whispers among mutual friends. The perfection he boasted about was nothing but a carefully curated illusion. One evening, as I sat in the calm of my apartment, its walls now adorned with certificates of achievement and soft, inspiring art, I received a text message that sent a chill through me. The screen lit up with a simple message. "Hey, how have you been?" I stared at it, disbelief mingling with a strange sense of vindication. The message was casual, almost nonchalant, as if he were simply reaching out to an old acquaintance. But I knew better. I knew that beneath those few words lay a desperate attempt to reconnect, a hope to reclaim what he had lost. I let the message sit there, untouched, and scrolled on, the buzzing of my notifications echoing in my ears, like the applause of a long-forgotten crowd. I could almost picture him now, sitting, alone in a dimly lit bar, scrolling through his phone, noticing my rising success and feeling a pang of regret. I imagined him wondering how the girl he once abandoned had managed to climb from the depths of despair to the heights of achievement. Every time his name flashed on my screen, it was a reminder that I had not only survived, but I had thrived. I was now a force to be reckoned with, and the power had shifted entirely. The change in my life was not just visible online. I had stepped into elite circles that I had only dreamed of before. Invitations to high-profile events, exclusive parties, and business galas started coming in. I mingled with influential people, those who had the power to shape industries and create trends. Their admiration and genuine interest in my journey made every hardship worth it. I could feel the weight of their respect as I entered rooms filled with chatter and clinking glasses. Every handshake, every smile from someone who saw me as an equal was a victory over the person who once made me feel so small. There was one night at a prestigious industry event that solidified it all. The venue was elegant, a blend of modern minimalism and timeless class, with soft ambient lighting that cast a warm glow on every face in the room. I remember feeling the gentle hum of conversation around me, the soft music in the background that added a dreamy quality to the atmosphere. I had just shared my latest project on stage, my voice steady, my words filled with passion and conviction. As I left the podium, the buzz of conversations and congratulatory comments swirled around me. It was then that I saw him, standing at the back of the room, his eyes fixed on me with an expression I had not seen before. His gaze was a mixture of astonishment and regret. I could see him trying to hide behind a forced smile, yet every so often his eyes betrayed a flash of vulnerability, as if he wished he could turn back time. I felt a tinge of satisfaction as I caught glimpses of his discomfort. I continued to walk through the room, receiving nods of respect from people who once dismissed me, while he lingered in the shadows of his own making. The buzz of notifications on my phone from admiring texts, likes, and messages from friends and even strangers made me aware of the new reality I now inhabited. It was a stark contrast to the days when I was desperate for any sign that he still cared. Later, as I sat alone on the balcony, the cool night air brushed softly against my skin, carrying with it the sound of distant city traffic and the occasional burst of laughter from below. I could feel the soft thud of my heart, steady and strong, a reminder of the resilience I had cultivated over months of relentless effort. The sky above was a deep, endless blue, and I found myself lost in thought, replaying the journey that had brought me here. Every sacrifice, every tear, every moment of self-doubt had been a stepping stone to this moment of undeniable power. I remembered the nights when I had cried myself to sleep, wondering if I would ever escape the shadow of his rejection. I recalled the endless hours spent doubting my worth, the days when the pain felt too heavy to bear. And yet, here I was, a testament to transformation, standing tall among those who recognized my strength. I realized then that the journey was never really about him. It was about me reclaiming my own life, my own destiny. The thrill of success, the warmth of genuine connections, and the freedom of knowing my own worth were my true rewards. Even now, every time his name popped up on my screen, every time I saw a post from him that hinted at the cracks in his new life, a small, confident smile tugged at the corners of my lips. I wasn't haunted by the past anymore. I had learned to let go, to embrace the present with open arms, and to look forward to a future that was mine alone to shape. Every like, every comment, every congratulatory message was a reminder that I was no longer defined by his mistakes. Instead, I was the author of my own story, a story of relentless determination and hard-fought victories. I could feel the energy building within me, an unstoppable force that had carried me through the darkest of times. The casual text he sent had become a symbol, not of longing or regret, but of the complete reversal of roles. I had risen above the pain, transformed every wound into a badge of honor, and now, as I looked at the countless messages from those who admired my journey, I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't just over him. I was far above him. That realization filled me with an overwhelming sense of power. I no longer craved his validation or his approval. I had forged a new identity, one built on resilience, self-respect, and the unwavering belief that I deserved every bit of success. That came my way. I had embraced every challenge as a lesson, every setback as a stepping stone, and every moment of doubt as an opportunity to rise even higher. The transformation was complete. I was no longer the broken person who had once doubted my own worth. I had become a beacon of strength, a symbol of what one could achieve when they refused to let past hurts dictate their future. And in that moment, as I gazed out at the city lights twinkling like distant stars, I knew that nothing could hold me back ever again. I wasn't chasing him, and I wasn't even thinking about what he might say or do next. I was too busy living, the life I had always dreamed of, one where my achievements spoke for themselves, where my inner light shone so brightly that it outshone the darkness of our past. My journey was no longer about proving something to him or to anyone else. It was about celebrating my own strength and resilience, about honoring every scar that had taught me how to grow. As I sat there, feeling the cool breeze and the pulse of the city beneath me, I couldn't help but reflect on how far I had come. Every struggle, every tear, every moment of pain had led me to this point, a place of unshakable confidence and unstoppable ambition. I knew that I had truly become the person he never thought I could be. And with that, a final thought echoed. In my mind, as clear and powerful as the truth itself, I wasn't just over him. I was above him, completely and undeniably. I walked into the grand ballroom with a calm confidence that I had built over countless sleepless nights and hard-fought battles. The chandeliers cast a warm glow over elegantly dressed guests, and soft music filled the air. I moved through the crowd with purpose, knowing that every step I took was a step away from the past that once defined me. Tonight, I wasn't just attending another event. I was owning my success. As I mingled among influential figures and celebrated my achievements, I caught sight of him across the room. He stood near the entrance, a hesitant figure in a tailored suit that now seemed out of place next to my vibrant energy. The moment our eyes met, I saw a flash of disbelief on his face. His eyes widened as if he couldn't believe what he was seeing. He had expected to see a fading memory, someone broken and defeated. But there I was, radiant, strong, and undeniably successful. He tried to approach me casually, but I could see the desperation in his gaze, the longing to undo his past mistakes. I noticed his lips tighten into a strained smile as he slowly made his way toward me. Every step he took carried the weight of regret, and I could almost hear his thoughts, wondering if he had made a terrible mistake by leaving me behind. I kept my expression neutral, knowing that tonight was about me, not him. When he finally reached me, his voice trembled as he spoke. I'm sorry. Can we talk? The words hung in the air, heavy and full of unspoken admissions. I looked at him as though he were a stranger, someone who had once been a part of my life, but now belonged to a different chapter. I remembered the nights when his promises had filled me with hope, and the bitter mornings when his actions had shattered that hope into 1,000 pieces. Now, those memories were nothing more than echoes in a room filled with applause and admiration for the person I had become. I replied softly, "You were right. I did move on, just not the way you expected." My voice was calm, yet every word carried the weight of years spent reclaiming my worth. Around us, the chatter of guests dimmed into a hushed silence as people began to notice our conversation. I could see his new partner standing nearby, her eyes widening with discomfort as she watched him fumble for words. The scene was charged with tension, a public reminder of how far the roles had reversed. For a moment, I let the silence speak for itself. I could feel the energy of the room shift, the air thick with anticipation. The cool touch of my new partner's hand at my side reminded me of the warmth and respect I now commanded, something he had never given me before. I could taste the sweet victory on my tongue, a taste that was as satisfying as it was long overdue. Continued, stumbling over his words. "I never meant to hurt you. I was a fool, and His voice broke off, and I saw his eyes fill with regret. But regret was no longer my concern. I had built a life that was too precious to be defined by his apologies. I had learned to love myself again, to rise above the pain, and to forge a path that was entirely my own. The crowd around us began to murmur, and I could sense that everyone was watching. I held his gaze steadily as I spoke again, letting my words cut through the tension. "You thought that by leaving me for someone else, you could erase what we had. You believed that your choices would define both our futures. But look around. You now. I have found my worth in places you never imagined. And I have created a world where my value is measured not by your approval, but by my own determination." I watched his face change from one of desperate hope to one of dawning realization. The confident smile I wore was a testament to the strength I had gained through hardship. Every challenge I had faced had molded me into someone who could stand tall in moments like this. The whispers among the guests grew louder, and I could see nods of respect and admiration. I was no longer the girl he once dismissed. I was a woman who had transformed her life, turning pain into power and heartbreak into a stepping stone toward greatness. As the evening wore on, the conversation between us faded into a background murmur, but the impact remained. He tried one last time to bridge the gap between us, his voice almost pleading as he said, "Please, can we try again? I want to make things right." But I simply shook my head, a small, sad smile playing at the corners of my lips. I had nothing left to prove to him, and certainly nothing left to gain by rekindling what was lost. The crowd's attention was a constant reminder of the new chapter I had entered. Every polite smile, every respectful nod, every congratulatory word from someone who now saw me as an equal reinforced the fact that I belonged in this world of success and recognition. I could feel the steady beat of my heart, strong and unwavering, as I realized that I had become so much more than the sum of my past mistakes. In that charged moment, with the ex-fiancé's words hanging feebly in the air, I turned and walked away. The sound of my heels clicking on the marble floor was like a metronome marking the rhythm of my new life. I left him standing there, his eyes wide and filled with regret, a stark contrast to the vibrant energy that now surrounded me. As I stepped into a circle of friends who welcomed me with open arms, the ex-fiancé's desperate pleas became nothing more than a distant echo. I could feel the warmth of genuine admiration radiating from every person around me. The soft murmur of praise and the occasional clink of champagne glasses were a far cry from the hollow promises of the past. I realized then that his attempt to re-enter my life was nothing more than a last-ditch effort to recapture a memory that was no longer mine. That night, as I stood under the soft glow of the venue's lights, I let my mind replay every step of my journey, the moments of despair, the long nights of self-doubt, and the countless hours I had spent fighting to reclaim my identity. I thought of every tear that had watered the seeds of my resilience and every scar that had become a badge of honor. I had transformed into someone I had once only dreamed of becoming, a woman who refused to be defined by someone else's mistakes. In the final moments of the evening, as the crowd began to disperse and the echoes of our brief encounter faded into the background, I felt a deep sense of clarity. The past was behind me, locked away in memories that no longer had any power over my present. I had risen above the bitterness and the heartbreak, and now, as I looked around at the life I had built, I knew that my journey was far from over. He thought I'd say yes. He thought I'd fall for him again. He thought wrong. In that quiet, transformative moment, I realized that I wasn't just reclaiming what I had lost. I was rewriting my future. I had taken the pain and turned it into power, the rejection, and molded it into resilience. And as I stepped forward into a life filled with promise and endless possibilities, I knew that nothing could ever make me doubt my worth again. I stand here now, in a world that once felt impossible to reach. Every step I took, every tear I shed, has led me to this moment of quiet triumph. I've built a life filled with success and deep self-worth. A life where I wake up each day with purpose and joy. The laughter of friends and the steady hum of the city remind me that I am finally free. I am surrounded by the warmth of genuine connections and the vibrant energy of a future that I have designed for myself. Every achievement, every smile, every victory is a testament to the power of letting go. Across the room, he lingers, a shadow of the past, still trapped in a cycle of regret and bitter longing. He watches as I live the life he once promised, me, a life he abandoned without a second thought. His world remains unchanged, a stagnant echo of what once was, while I have soared beyond the limitations of his small-mindedness. I reflect on everything that has brought me here and realize the ultimate truth. The best revenge isn't in taking him back. It's in never needing him at all. That realization fills me with a sense of liberation, a lightness that makes me feel almost weightless. The distant city lights shimmer like a promise of endless possibilities, and the gentle sound of laughter carries away the last remnants of old pain. In this moment, I know I deserve every bit of happiness I have found. I have learned to value myself more than any fleeting validation he could ever offer. With one final, resolute look back, I turn and walk away. I leave him standing alone, a relic of a time that no longer holds any power over me. Some things, I remind myself, just don't deserve a second chance. And so, with a quiet confidence and a heart full of hope, I step into my bright new future, unburdened, unstoppable, and free.